the independent sample student t-test. There are different types of student t-test that we have in statistics, and the student t-test is very, very important in managing small sample. So we have different types of student t-test, but this particular one is the one we apply when we deal with two independent sample. My name is Dr. Felix Ayodele. If this is the first time you are joining me on this channel, please don't hesitate to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. So let's get started. Now, as an opening quote, I want to submit that without data, you will just be another person with an opinion. Data is what drives decision across the world, and that is why statistics is very, very important. So we are looking at student t-tests, and the statistical test is used to make inference beyond personal opinion when it comes to day-to-day life. So let's look at what independent student t-test is actually all about. Let's look at the learning objective. Now, I expect that at the end of this presentation, you should be able to define what the independent sample t-test is all about. And number two, you should be able to state the assumption. Every statistical test has assumption, okay? And you must be familiar with the assumption. Otherwise, if you apply a statistical test that have actually failed the underlying assumption, your conclusion will probably be wrong. So you should also be able to compute the t-statistics at the end of this presentation and equally interpret your result. So let's establish what the independent sample t-test is all about. We say it is a test that's used to compare means of two independent groups, okay? But more importantly, our goal is to determine if there is a difference between these two groups. Number one, they should be independent group, and then we want to establish if there's a difference. Of course, if there's a difference, it connotes what we call statistical significance in statistics. Good. So, but when do we use the independent sample t-test? The first instance is when you are dealing with two independent groups and your outcome variable is continuous in nature. We don't use it for discrete probability. You can check some of my video where I discussed the importance of two independent sample t-test and when it is actually appropriate to use it. So the sample size must be small and it will also be moderate, and your population variance must be unknown. Usually when we say sample size must be small, we speak with reference to 30 and below. Okay, when you are dealing with two groups with sample size that is below 30, we say it's a small sample in statistics. But that notwithstanding, if the population variance of a data set is not known, you are most likely going to use the student t-test even when you have more than 30 as your sample size. Good. So the key point there is that if the population variance is unknown, the most likely test you are going to use is the student t-test. But if you know the population variance, then you're most probably going to be using your z-test. So let's see a few examples of the independent sample t-test. We have treated versus the untreated animal. We can also have male versus what? Female animals. And we can also have farm versus farm A versus farm B. So these are examples, but let's look at the assumptions. Number one, we are dealing with independent observation. So the two groups must be independent. And number two, the data sets must approximately be normally distributed. That is where normality becomes important. And then homogeneity of variance is very, very important. So the variance of the first group must be equal to the second group or must be approximate to one another. Very, very important. If this is not the case, then there's an alternative to the independent sample t-test, which is the wedge test. Okay, so but usually when we make use of any statistical test is applied in the process of testing hypothesis. So when we explain statistical tests, we don't explain it independently. We explain it as an essential step we carry out when we are testing hypothesis. So usually for hypothesis testing, the first thing is to state the hypothesis. So you are going to have the null hypothesis. You are also going to have what? The alternative hypothesis. And then because you are dealing with two groups, so you have to determine if you are dealing with a one-t-test or a two-t-test. It all depends on how the alternative hypothesis is stated. So the alternative hypothesis, the statement of alternative hypothesis will tell us if we are dealing with a one-t-test or a two-t-test. In this case now, okay, we have the mean 1 is not equal to mean 2. That is the statement of the alternative hypothesis here, okay? But what if we have mean 1 is greater than mean 2? That case, it makes it a one-t-test. But when you say not equal to, it's a two-t-test. In actual context, what does this mean? So usually, there may be a dispute or a contest to be established. Mean 1 is not equal. If something is not equal, is either is greater than it or less than it. That is what makes it what? Two-tailed. It means the direction is not specified. It's not unidirectional. It could go in both directions. So because we are dealing with two possible directions, we say it's what? It's a two-tailed test. But if this mean is saying that mean 1 is greater than mean 2, then we have established a particular direction. That will be what? A one-tailed test. So this is the formula for the independent sample t-test. Okay, we have the first mean, we also have the second mean. We have the standard deviation for the first data set, and we have the standard deviation for the second data set, the sample size for the first, the sample size even for the second data set. So let's see how to calculate this. But before then, there's another piece of information we need to get when we deal with what? Statistical test. More importantly, student t-test. Now, that important information is to calculate the degree of freedom. Okay, so we calculate the degree of freedom, and we either compare the t calculated with the t critical. These are two possible ways we can establish our final decision. It's either we are comparing our t calculated with the t critical, or we are comparing our p-value with our level of significance. These are the two possible ways we could establish our final decision. We're going to learn more of this as we continue. So let's look at the first question. So the first question here says, a veterinarian wants to test whether a new deworming drug improves weight gain in goats. Now this is the table. And then the question says, at a level of significance of 0.05, test whether there's a significant difference in mean weight. I believe this question is clear. So we have a treatment group, we have a control group. So let's look at the step one after the other. Okay, so again, the first step in statistical test is to what? State your hypothesis. Mean 1 is equal to mean 2. That is usually the position of the null hypothesis. It is a hypothesis of no difference, no effect. So when you say mean 1 is equal to mean 2, you are simply saying there's no difference in the two mean. While the alternative hypothesis is saying mean 1 is not what? Equal to what? Mean 2, stating that a difference actually exists. So the first thing to do again is to state our hypothesis. Now the next step is to establish the formula. Now again, this is the formula of our independent sample t-test. Okay, it's different from one sample t-test. It's also different from pair sample t-test. So this is independent sample what? T-test. Now what do? We substitute the value from the question we have, 28 minus 24, and by the time we compose, we are going to arrive at 2.16 as our answer. And this answer we have gotten is described as what? This is the t calculated. We call it the t calculated, or call it the t-statistics, but it's actually the t calculated. The t value we obtain by what? By computation, by calculating it. Okay, so The next step is to establish our degree of freedom. For an independent sample t-test, the formula for degree of freedom is n1 minus plus n2 minus 2. So the sample size for the first group plus the sample size for the second group minus 2, and that gives us what? It gives us 22. Now we need this information to establish what? Our t critical, because essentially we'll be comparing our t calculated with the t critical to make our final decision. So for our t critical now, of course, we have obtained the degree of freedom to be 22, and our alpha level is stated as what? Is stated as 0.05. And when we check this on the table, you have to check this on the student t table. On that student t table, you have the row, you have the column. And when you check this, you will discover that the t critical will be exactly 2.07. So here we have our t critical, and from the calculation we made, our t calculated is what? 2.16. So what we are doing is that to make our decision is to compare the t calculated with the t critical. Good. So if our t calculated is actually greater than the t critical, we reject our null hypothesis. And if otherwise, we will fail to reject our null hypothesis. So what we are trying to establish here is where our t calculated falls. There's what we call the rejection zone in our normal distribution curve and the non-rejection zone. So the moment your t calculated is greater than the t critical that marks off the rejection and non-rejection zone, it simply means your t calculated falls where? In the rejection zone. And what are you rejecting? You are rejecting the null hypothesis. So we go ahead to say we reject the null hypothesis, stating that what the difference we have observed in our data set in those two groups is what? Statistically what? Significant. Very, very important. Very, very important. So the interpretation again is that statistical significance is established in this weight. The deworming drug improve goat weight. Good. Now let's look at another example for further for clarity. So we have here a question on blood parameter. The data set is on the screen. A study compares hemoglobin level in infected and healthy cattle. So the infected we have, the healthy we have it here, and these are the mean what? Their mean hemoglobin level. Now the question wants us to test at an alpha level of 0.05 whether infection affects hemoglobin level. In other words, we want to know if there's a significant difference in these two mean that we are seeing here. Good. So let's look at the first step. As usual, the first step is to state our hypothesis. Good. While the second step is to establish the formula we're using, which is the independent sample t-test, and then we want to substitute. Now when we substitute, after substituting, we're going to arrive at negative 3.04. Good. And then we establish our degree of freedom. N1 plus N2 minus 2, we got 18. And then we calculate at we look out for our t critical, which is 2.1. And then we are comparing it with what? Our t calculated. Our t calculated is the one we have in bar, which is 3.01. So when we compare the two, we realize that the t calculated is actually greater than our t critical. So the implication is that we're going to reject our null hypothesis, stating what? That there's a statistical significance, okay, in terms of the mean we have found. And this simply means that infection reduces hemoglobin level in cattle. So as a key teaching insight, that we should take home here is that across all the examples, we will observe that larger mean difference will equal to what? Higher t value. Okay? The moment there's a big mean difference, you are going to likely get a very big t value. And larger variability will also indicate low t value, while your sample size will always influence your precision and your significance. Now, this is the more we're going to take on independent sample t-test. It is still research and statistics. My name is still Dr. Felix Ayedele Yuleye. Please don't hesitate to subscribe, to like the video, and to share it with colleagues. I will see you in my next video. Thanks for listening.